Greetings YouTubers, Atari Leaf back again. I just finished that history of gaming video that I did. My personal history on how I started into video games. And it got me thinking, kind of as a follow-up, and I encourage you to leave comments or do a response video of your own. But my question is, what got you back into retro gaming? What was the catalyst for you where you said, wow, I'd really like to get another Atari. I'd love to get another Nintendo and relive those childhood memories. Was there something you saw, something that happened? What made you decide to get back into gaming, or retro gaming specifically? Now for me, it was around 1993, I believe. My wife and I, we were out yard sailing. And I should say that my wife I didn't have any gaming consoles of my own when we got married. I'd pretty much gotten rid of everything. The only thing I had kept when we got married was my Coco stuff. It was in my basement or stored away somewhere, I believe. But I wasn't using any of it. When my wife and I got married, she had an old Atari 2600, the junior model, and the only games she had were Joust and I believe Dig Dug. And at one point I remember going to Zeller's and picking up sealed copies of the two M Network games, Armor Ambush and Space Attack, I believe. Those two games. So we basically had 4 games for the Atari. I piddled around with it, played it every now and then, but didn't really care too much. One day we were out yard sailing, and my wife was looking, I don't remember what she was looking for, but I remember seeing on the table was an Atari, the original one, much like this one, with about 25 or 30 games, and they wanted about $30. Well, I didn't have $30 on me, I only had 10, so I thought to myself, well, I wonder if the lady would just let me buy some of the games. And she agreed. So I picked out Asteroids and Missile Command and Defender and Berserk, some of the really common ones, some of the common Activision ones too. Now when I got home and I started playing with those, that's when the bug hit me. I thought, wow, I really love these old games. I can't believe I got rid of my Atari. Now remember, this is 1993. This is before the internet, the modern day internet. This is before eBay. This is before Craigslist. So from that point on, we used to hit, I was addicted now to yard sales. I was going to yard sales every weekend. I never used to like yard sales. I hated them. Now I loved them. And back in 1993, everybody had Atari somewhere in their basement or their attic. So I would find yard sales with dozens of games and systems every single week. I remember coming home literally with a garbage bag full of Atari games. And I remember putting an ad in the paper, our local paper, looking for Atari games. And I had, again, dozens of responses. And I was getting them cheap. I remember paying 10 cents a game or 5 cents a game. People were selling me lots of 50 or 60 games for $10 and $15. One fellow who was a traveling salesman, my biggest score of the time was around this time in 1993. He was a traveling salesman, so he was picking up all kinds of rare games. But we didn't know they were really rare back then. Again, there were no rarity guides. So it was $125, I bought about 6 Atari systems from him with over 300 games. Some of them complete in box, and some of them were very rare. Like I remember one of them was Vulture Attack. That's an R9 game, worth about $100 or so, I believe, right now. But I had no idea of the value, monetarily speaking, of these games. But I had pretty much every Atari game you can imagine back then. This guy had it all. Well, that's probably overstating it, not every single game. There were probably thousands. But I had games now that I would kill to have again. Really, really rare stuff. And unfortunately, stupid me, I ended up selling all of that. About a year later, I sold the whole thing. And again, I sold it very cheap because I didn't know or realize the value of retro games back then. So that's what got me started back into retro gaming. I eventually got back into it at the end of the 90s into the 2000s, where I am now. But I kicked myself for getting rid of that original collection I had because I didn't really know or appreciate what I had at the time. And I wish I had, because you would look at a pretty incredible collection right now. But somebody else has got it. It was a local person. What they did with it, I don't know. Whether they still have it somewhere, whether they've eBayed it off themselves, I don't know. But I had some pretty incredible games. But that's the catalyst that got me back into retro gaming. And the bug is still with me today, to the chagrin of my wife. So I just thought I'd share that with you. Do a video response if you're inclined. State your retro gaming history. What got you back into retro gaming in modern times now? Okay, thanks everybody for listening. This is Atari Leaf. Have yourselves a fantastic day.